Hey folks, it's Nick Granville. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I thought I'd talk about some Latin rhythms. I do a lot of stuff that involves Latin rhythms. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a Latin guitar player, although I've done a lot of the stuff. And I played with some very heavy players playing this music. A good friend of mine, Francesco Torres, is the MD for Poncho Sanchez, and we played together a bunch. There's some videos on my YouTube channel if you want to check those out. I've also studied with some heavy kind of Brazilian players, and you know, the Latin American thing is kind of a big part of kind of the makeup of a lot of what I do, so that I just share what I do in terms of this space. There's a couple of things. So I'm going to start with just like a really simple chord progression. 2 bars of A minor 7, then a B minor 7 flat 5 and an E7, a 4-bar sequence. It's a common sequence you're going to see a lot in music. It's a 1 chord, then 2 5 1, right? Here's a rhythm pattern that I would play a lot of the time, right? So if I have A minor, I'd play so I have A minor, and I do bass note, top note. I don't tend to play chords like this. It's too much, right? Most of the time it's just 3 notes or 4 notes, right? So I go, so A minor to A minor 7. We could look at that as C, right, but over an A. And then the B minor 7 flat 5, I just play this much. Right, so it's kind of just diminished at that point. There's no 7th. So again, bass note, top notes. And that one there is just an E7, and it's coming from this voicing. But I'm just playing. And one thing I found with a lot of Latin stuff is you just want it wants to be repetitive. It wants to be this thing that goes around and around and around. Then this part here is kind of like how piano players would play, right? I kind of stole it from them. You want this to go round and round and round. As soon as you break it up, you kind of lose the whole mojo of what's going on, right? If I go... there's too much variation, and what's happening is I'm kind of going to lose the listener. And what you really want to do is you want to be playing something that's kind of gets them in this hypnotic state. They can't help but move. Their head starts going. They want to dance. It's like it's dancing music, isn't it? So... so that's a pattern I'd use a lot, right? And once I find one that fits against the bass line and the chords and everything else, then I just kind of do that round and round. I'll give you an example. So, there's a classic Santana song called Smooth, which was a big hit for Carlos. And this has a similar kind of pattern, except what happens is really like A minor and then F7 to E7. So it's like A minor 7, F7, E7, then E7 over B. And my choice whether to use the pick or my fingers depends on what kind of texture I want. I use the pick if I want it to be brighter and more percussive. I use my fingers if I want it to be more softer and kind of blend in a different kind of way. And if I play nylon string guitar, then it's going to be fingers all the way, right? And a cool variation on that, instead of going to that E7, go E7 over G and put the flat 9 in as well. So you end up with this. Right, so you have G sharp, F, B, E. Right, that's a cool voicing, isn't it? E7 flat 9 over G sharp. The third in the bass, right? So that's a kind of a cool one. Another thing I do often too, if I have that same chord progression, I'm just going to use that for all of these examples. If I have that same chord progression, what I do is I like I mentioned about playing small chords, right? Just a couple of notes, 2 notes, like 3 notes like that. But you could also just break it down to 2. I've just there got literally A and C, so the root and the minor third. That spells the chord. If you want to take that further, one thing I do too is if it's getting really busy, like say I'm playing with a piano player and the piano player is kind of laying into it a lot, which happens a lot in this music, I'll tend to just play like what I call a bubblegum guitar part. And in pop music, a bubblegum guitar part would be something like you know, like that Michael Jackson type stuff, right? That sort of thing, right? But in this case, what I'm doing is I'm going to take that same idea I just did and just bubblegum it. So it's the same idea, but I'm... So you see, with that bubblegum idea, it's the same kind of thing, but what you get is you get this kind of, it's lighter, it's more percussive, I'm palm muting a little bit to kind of, so to me it kind of takes up a role almost where like another percussion instrument would rather than a harmonic instrument like a guitar or piano. So that can be a cool thing if things are getting too busy. And again, once I find a pattern, I stay there. Right, another one I do quite a bit is if it's going from like say A minor to D7. One of my favourite patterns, like a 2-5-1, right? That's A minor 7 to D9, A minor 7 to D9. One of my favourites to do on that is, and there's your D7, right? You've got F sharp, C, and E. It's D9, right? Or D7 with a ninth added. Right? So that's a really cool pattern. I'll show you what that sounds like. So when it comes to fills, I often do fills and I'll kind of follow how the drummer does things. So classic Latin fill is that da 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 bum, right? So right, da 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 4, right? That chord lands on beat 4, right? So it's kind of this, it gives it a little push to the feel. It's not push, the tempo's staying the same. So I'm listening for the drummers for what those fills are going to be, right? And I don't necessarily want to play the same thing they do. If they go da 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 da, I might just go, let them do the first bit, and they can go da 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 da, and then I might go and just kind of catch the end of it. And I kind of liken that to playing like putting a full stop on a sentence. I used to play with this really great drummer, a guy called Roger Sellers in Wellington. He was a legend, really. He played all around the world, played with Sonny Stitt or Letta Adams. He was the house drummer at Ronnie Scott's for a long time. Nucleus, all these kind of legendary bands. Alan Holdsworth. You know what I mean? But we used to play together a bit, and I remember he used to do that quite a bit. I'd play a little fill, and he wouldn't necessarily play the same fill I'm doing, like young drummers would, right? They'd play the same thing I do. Roger, because of his experience, would know that he just sometimes has to put the full stop on the end of my sentence. So that might just be, I'd play a fill, and he'd just put a snare hit on beat 4, and then back into swing again, or whatever. And that was a real lesson to me. It was like, okay, don't necessarily have to copy what someone else does, but answer it. So that's what I'll do. Get the idea, right? Those sort of little fills like that are just things I put in on occasion, and the place for those fills is always where it logically makes sense, isn't it? If it's we want to think in 4s, 8s, those kinds of groupings, right? So really, like every, say, 16 bars, there might be a fill, and maybe every second lot of 16 might be when you put in just a little thing like that. It just gives it a little, you know, little nudge. Another thing I do with this stuff, if there is a horn line, like maybe the horns go, then I'll play that with them in addition to my comping. So my comping might be, so if there's any horn lines like that that I hear, I jump on those, because to me that's kind of a nice thing, is like that blend of horns with the guitar just tucked in there is a really nice sound that kind of adds this another dimension. So that's something I do quite a bit as well. And the last thing I'll leave you with is, like, I'm doing these all kind of within like a rhythm guitar structure, but you can also kind of do the same thing but jump them up an octave and move them around. So I would urge you to kind of do that. Like, don't just learn things in one place, learn it everywhere, right? So something like, which is just A minor 7, sorry, A minor 7, A minor 6, or D7. It's really D7 at that point. All right, we could go. Doesn't work so well down low, but I still want to know how that goes. I could go. All I did there was flip it on its head, right? A minor like this. I could go. Right? I want to know how to play these in all the kinds of different ways. And of course it's dependent on key. If I move this up to the key of E minor, well now, that might work, but it might not. Say I move it to the key of F sharp minor. That's feeling too low for me for that kind of a part. So I'd probably want, you know, maybe I'd want to play it up there or something. I don't know. Like, but I want to explore all of those and be able to play the same thing in multiple different places, so that if I change key, I can do it. If register's not working, it's getting mushy, I can jump it up an octave, I can move it to another place. I want to have options is the kind of the key thing, right? I don't want to be stuck to just one thing. Hey, look, if you found this useful, please like and subscribe. My name's Nick Granville, as I mentioned. I post twice a week on here. I used to do videos every day on YouTube. I know, what a crazy guy. Now I do twice a week plus a live stream. I enjoyed doing the daily videos, but it's pretty full on. Even twice a week is pretty full on. So, you know, I'm doing but twice a week, but more production now, and I'm really enjoying doing that. So, yeah, so please like and subscribe. It really helps. My channel's growing. I appreciate you all being here. If there's something you think I should cover, drop me a comment below and let me know. If you have any feedback, drop me a comment too. I respond to everybody's comments. I don't know if people have noticed that, but I kind of think if someone takes the time to leave me a comment, then the least I can do is reply back. Unless you leave a dumb comment, then that's another thing. You know, someone being a smart ass, which we do get those people on YouTube. Don't know why they bother. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.